Hi everyone, Janet McMorty here. Before we get to this week's episode, I would like to introduce you to the fabulous sponsor of this week's episode. This week's episode is sponsored by the wonderful, incredible Simcoe County Theatre Festival. As you know, this is an indie podcast. I do all my own everything. I'm not sponsored by supplement companies or anything crazy like that. So I'm very, very picky and selective on who sponsors my show. It's very much appreciated when people email me and say, hey, can you advertise? But I'm so picky. And I will always, until the day I leave this crazy dumpster fire planet, support Theatre by the Bay and especially the Simcoe County Theatre Festival. I got to be in last year's theater festival and the year before's theater festival. Sadly, I'm unable to be in this year's theater festival because I'm going to a little event you may have heard of. It's called the Olympics, but I am very, very excited that the Simcoe County Theater Festival reached out and said, would you still consider, showcasing our wonderful festival on your podcast? I said, abso-freaking-lutely until the day I die. All right, here we go. Experience the 3rd annual Simcoe County Theatre Festival in downtown Barrie, powered by the amazing Theatre by the Bay. I love you people. I love you humans. This year's festival features 7 new shows by local Simcoe County artists. We've got a play for every taste, including a children's opera, a contemporary jazz dance piece, comedies, dramas, and so much more, running July 10th to the 21st at the 5 Points Theatre in Barrie. Join us for the Festival of the Summer and get tickets at theatrebythebay.com. I'll put a link in the show notes below, or call 705-735-9243. Do not let the fact that that's a 705 area code or the fact that it's in Barrie scare all you Toronto folks. Barrie is not that far. You can take public transit. The GO train goes right there, and it's really not that far up. Yes, it is the dreaded 400 series highway. But this festival is incredible. I am going to be there supporting this whole endeavor, and I hope to see and hear you all out supporting local theater, supporting indie theater, because we need to keep creators creating, and the only way we can do that in this capitalism society is by going to support their shows and buying tickets and supporting their shows. Rant over. Thank you, Simcoe County Theatre Festival, for supporting this week's episode. I hope you enjoy it. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Second Act Actors. I'm your host, Dr. Janet McMorty, and I'm still a medical doctor simultaneously trying to pursue a career in acting. My guest this week is John Duke. John is a business owner turned actor, but he is honestly so much more than that. I always ask my guests, what would you like the title of your podcast to be? Because it's usually name blank turned actor, but honestly, it's my podcast. You can do whatever you want. You can say whatever you want as your title. And when he was like, okay, why don't we use business owner turned actor? And I was like, sure, absolutely, we do what you want. But as you will hear, he is just so much more than that. He has such a fascinating story to tell. He's been through a lot, and you'll hear in his story. I mean, he started out in police foundations, had some pretty significant trauma that he'll talk about, and was unable to continue pursuing that dream of his, so switched into acting and then entrepreneurship, I think is the right word. He has his own private security company. So cool. He's an actor, he's a filmmaker, he's a writer, he does all these incredible things. Please enjoy the most fascinating person, John Duke. So tell me your story. How did you get into this entertainment industry?
So I have a very unusual story with regards to everything, because everything kind of correlates and comes together as one with regards to my acting story, the feature film, my entrepreneurship. Everything kind of gets tied in together. And this is actually the first time I'll be sharing my story in public and with anyone other than my wife.
Oh, I'm so honored. Oh my gosh.
So I do apologize. There might be times where I might get emotional, because unfortunately my story is very kind of tragic and hopefully inspiring. I'm hoping that any listeners or any followers get inspired by my story, because it was very life altering, and I had to find a way to pick myself back up from nothing. So yeah, sorry. I'm already getting a little emotional now, actually. So I have a background in criminology. I have a diploma in police foundations, and the goal was always to go into law enforcement. I love helping people. I love, partaking in the community. I own a security company now, and we volunteer our time for charity events like Sick Kids Hospital, and I do whatever I can to give back whenever possible. So going to school, trying to get my degree, trying to get my diploma, and eventually try to get hired onto the police force. As a child and in school, I played sports. I was a jock. I was captain of almost every high school team I ever played for. So, everyone knew who I was. Everyone knew who my name was. Sorry. I had a very easy time with the ladies because I was the captain of every sports team. Not that I'm bragging by any means. I just meant, like, you would think life was fantastic. You think that life is grand and I had everything. Everything was going great for me. But it wasn't. It was very strange. I had a hard time not understanding why I wasn't actually happy. So I started thinking, like, am I depressed? Do I have a mental illness that I haven't diagnosed? What was going on? And it's because I was doing everything that was put forth for me. Like, pursuing a career that had a pension, had, job security, doing everything right for others. And I'm not saying that my parents forced me to become a cop or forced me to do anything, because my parents were the most supportive parents I ever had. Well, sorry, the most supportive parents probably anyone can ask for, sorry. I didn't feel normal. I felt like an outsider. I felt like I was living my life through the lens, so to speak. And then I did a couple talent shows, and I did a couple showcases, I guess you would call them. And that's when I felt the most alive. That's when I really, really enjoyed what I was doing. And I knew that I had to pursue it. So again, like, being very fortunate to having parents that never said, "Oh, acting isn't a responsibility that you should take on, or isn't a job and security. Don't do it." My parents literally said, "You can do anything you want to do. But the one thing we ask is pursue a degree, pursue some sort of education in case it doesn't work out." We're not saying we don't believe in you, but we're saying have something as a backup, which was fair. My mom, my dad paid for showcasing for me and my two siblings, and we went. I got an agent right away. But I actually started off in modeling before I went to acting, because, like, I know it doesn't look like it right now, but I actually used to be really fit and really, really muscular. I had like 6% body fat, and, like, again, I played sports. I did all the competitions in athletics and martial arts, so I looked great back then. So I started off in modeling, and I did a couple runway shows. I did a couple music videos. It wasn't for me because I love to eat. I'm a foodie, as you can tell. And so I needed to do something else that was similar, but something a little bit more. And that's when I got into acting. And similar to what most actors go through from a different heritage or different culture, I'm Latino, Hispanic. I was getting typecasted a lot as the drug dealer, the abusive boyfriend, the gangbanger, all the things I was not. But again, it's acting. You put your best foot forward and hope for the best. But I was never getting the opportunity for the leading man. I was never getting the opportunity to, be more than just a supportive principal role. So one of my favorite role models in the film and television world was Sylvester Stallone, because his story and what he tried to do with Rocky and what he did with Rocky and then started basically a legacy was probably very inspiring to me, because if you really, really, truly want something, you can't just wait for the opportunity to knock on your door. Go out and get it. So fast forward to being 18, 19 years old, not getting lead room parts, not getting, only getting the supporting roles, booking the commercials that required you to say something in Spanish or anything like that, which was fine. It still was work, and I was still like so happy doing those things. It's just, it wasn't the stepping stone I was looking for. So I had a reoccurring dream 2 weeks in a row while I was playing the perspective as the leading character in this dream. And my girlfriend, who's now my wife, basically said, I told her about the dream. She goes, it sounds like a film. Like, are you like replaying a film in your head? I'm like, I don't know. So I literally Googled anything and everything related to this concept that was playing in my head while I was dreaming, and nothing was popping up. Nothing came forward saying like, this is a film or this is a TV series or something that I've watched. So she was like, why don't you write it down before you forget it? Because like, this sounds incredible. So then I contacted a few people, and I actually went to Pinewood Studios. Somehow I got a meeting. I don't know how it happened. Actually, I do remember how it happened. My friend introduced me to a writer there, and he said, yeah, come to my doors and we can have a chit chat. So I showed him literally a lined piece of paper that had just scribble on it, and gave it to him, and didn't know what to expect. Again, like being 19 years old, you're naive, you don't think things through properly in a professional manner. And he goes, this is very interesting. Did you come up with this yourself? I was like, yeah. And then he goes, listen, I'm extremely busy, because he's actually he's one of the leading writers for Shoresy, and before that he was the leading writer. What was the show before Shoresy? Oh my goodness.
Letterkenny?
Letterkenny, yes. Thank you so much. Yeah. So he's one of the leading writers for Letterkenny and Shoresy, and then he ended up becoming a producer for them. And he goes, listen, I'm working on a concept right now, and I believe it was trying to produce the YouTube series, or something else he was working on at the time. And he said, like, listen, like, try to take some writing classes, or try to learn how to write a script, just a generalization of like something, and then I will see what I can do to kind of polish it. So I literally did everything. I took classes, I watched YouTube videos, I read the whole entire manual on Final Draft just to learn how to write a script. Unfortunately, again, being 19 and being a little bit lazy at the time, I wanted it to go faster. I didn't want to put on the extra man hours to get this thing done by myself. So I got other people involved to assist me. It ended up going into a legal dispute over the rights. I can't go into too much detail over it because my lawyers advised me not to. It lasted a lot longer than it should have. It cost me way too much money to get the ownership of my creative ideas. And so this is where the big part of my life-altering story comes into play, is during the time of the legal dispute. Being 20 years old, again, you're still a kid in my eyes, still learning how the adult world works. I'm still in school, and now I have lawyer bills, and I'm drowning in them. And so I started working construction, security, landscaping, doing side jobs for people on Kijiji, or, word of mouth, like cutting people's lawns and stuff like that. I got really, really sick. I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating. I ended up developing myocarditis, I think is the proper term.
Myocarditis, yeah.
I had a heart attack at 22 years old. Being in fantastic shape, great shape. Not healthy anymore because you're not eating, you're not sleeping. So 2 years, I basically just worked like a dog to keep up with legal bills and keeping up with school bills and like your books, textbooks, and all that stuff. I almost died at 22 because I fought for my story because I believe in it.
Mhm.
And because of that, I wasn't able to pursue law enforcement anymore because sorry. I even practiced this part in the mirror a few times to make sure this didn't happen.
It's okay.
Um, so yeah, so I tell everybody that I chose not to be a cop anymore, but that's not what happened. I was told it would never happen because I had a health problem on my health chart, and they examined that. So I remember being in the ambulance, and my wife, who was my girlfriend then, calls me because I told her it was muscle pain. I felt the shooting pains in my left arm. I told her because I have a permanently dislocated shoulder, or like a shoulder, like you just it's not in the socket properly. But I've learned to adapt with the pain. And I told her it's just muscle pain, just muscle pain. And I'm being transported from Mackenzie Health all the way to South Lake because they have specialists there, right? So I get the phone call, and the paramedic goes, should you answer that? I don't think you should. I'm like, no, it's my girlfriend. She has an exam, and if I don't answer it right now, I don't think she's gonna do well. So I answer it, and she goes, so what was it? I'm like, oh, it was muscle pain. And the paramedic looks at me like, why are you lying? It's not muscle pain. And I'm like, good luck on your exam. I love you. Like, best of luck and stuff. I hang up because she's the reason why I went to the hospital. I woke up with like pain and distress, kind of hard to breathe a little bit. And she goes, go to the hospital. Like, you have a high pain tolerance. You've been playing contact sports your whole entire life. Like, go to the hospital. And I said, I think it's just muscle pain. Like, I need to go to work. Like, I can't miss shifts here. Like, I can't afford to miss a shift. Go to the hospital. If you don't go to the hospital, I will miss my exam and I will drive you myself. So I'm alive today because of her. I actually said that in our wedding speech that she saved my life. And the wedding guests didn't understand when I said that. So it was I had to lie at the time.
Yeah.
Because she would have missed her exam.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then a year later, I'm at 23, and then I went through all the extensive testing to make sure that hopefully it doesn't happen again and all that stuff, and everything cleared. I get into a snowboarding accident. I shatter my left shin down to my foot in multiple places. The only thing holding that leg together are plates and screws. So now I can't play contact sports anymore, and contact sports for me was an outlet. And during the legal dispute, I took a break from acting because, you build like kind of like a wall of hatred towards the industry because you built so much debt to try to fight for a film that you never know is just going to collect dust on a shelf for the rest of your life. So that was tough. And then, because now I can't play contact sports, and I was known for being that guy. Like, I've set records in my high school for rugby, like the most tries scored in a season, the most injuries sent to the hospital, which I'm not proud of, but back then I was a little bit, because, your team kind of praises you for sending the other team members to the hospital. All legal hits, I promise. But yeah, so it was downhill, constantly. Like, pick myself up, something happened. Pick myself up, something happened. And it wasn't getting easier. It was getting really, really hard. And you start developing all these negative thoughts in your head is this a sign that you should give up? Mm-hmm. is this a sign that you're not meant to do anything more than what you can do?
Mm.
So it was really hard. I was in a dark place, like a very, very dark place at the time. I developed an addiction, unfortunately. I boozed up anytime I was able to. And you started missing family events. Like my cousins, my aunts and uncles. I disappeared for 4 years from my family because I was just so distraught and working so hard to pay off my lawyers that I lost a lot of like my younger cousins' childhood because of it. Because I just distanced myself from everyone. Like it wasn't the right pathway to kind of, do this. Because like at the end of the day, you should talk to people. Like either a psychiatrist, family, friends, you talk to someone. So like if anyone's listening to this in the future, my only advice is try not to handle things on your own, because that's not the way to do it. So fast forward, my mom now, because like I'm at the hospital and they told her that, your son suffered a heart attack at 22 and then I had the snowboarding accident at 23 and I'm still working like a dog. I have crutches on and I'm still working. And my mom's wondering, why are you working so hard? I'm not charging you rent. I don't charge you for groceries. I help pay for your university. Why are you killing yourself? So my mom pulled one of the casting stereotypes, thought I was doing drugs. She goes, are you involved like with drugs? With gang members? I'm like, no, Mom, I'm not doing any of that. Then why are you killing yourself? What are you doing? You were in the hospital not even like 8 months ago because you had a heart attack. Why are you working so hard? And I couldn't tell my mom, I couldn't break her heart saying, oh, I got myself in a legal dispute chasing after my dream. My mom probably would have understood and thinking about it now. But again, when you're like 20, 21, around that age, 22, you don't believe that people will understand what you're going through. So my mom basically just asked, how much debt do you have? At this point, I've already paid a good portion of my legal fees, but not the whole thing. I said, it's a lot, Ma. Why do you have so much debt? I'm like, it's nothing illegal. I promise you that, but I do have debt. How much is it? And I told her how much it was. And then she just walked out of the room. So I thought she walked out of the room out of disappointment, out of like being upset, whatever it was. My mom went to the bank and put her house on the line to cut me a check to finish paying off my lawyers and to finish paying off the settlement fee. Because what ended up happening is I had to pay a settlement fee to own my film, which was brutal. But she wrote it and she goes, I don't want to know what this is for. I'm giving you the amount that you told me. This is it. You're done. Whatever you were doing, you're done. Focus on what's next for you. Because she knew I told her I couldn't be a cop anymore, and she knew that was the dream. But I was starting to become a bum. I gained 100 pounds, again, because of boozing and all that stuff. So she's like, you need to pick yourself back up. You need to do something to change whatever you're doing right now, because it's not working for us. Your family, your siblings, it's not working.
Yeah.
Do something. So I took the check, I looked at it. I looked over and I had my script printed on my nightstand because I used to look at it every single day to kind of motivate myself. But again, like when you hit rock bottom like that, and nothing motivates you anymore, right?
Yeah.
I looked at the check and I looked at the script. I'm like, the character that I created was all about perseverance. He was about valuing life. Like the story that I wrote is like with my wife, it's like very tragic and very inspiring. So why wasn't I living up to the story and the message? Why wasn't I following the message that I created? So I looked at it. I read it over again. I wrote edits. It's like the drive and the fire came back. I just started typing and like editing because like it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. Got the check, gave it to my lawyers, paid the settlement fee. Now I own the script 100% again. Went to LA twice. Again, being really young and foolish. Got screwed over. Ended up paying money And someone actually wanted it, which was fantastic to hear, but they wanted to completely change it. They liked the concept, so they wanted to buy the kind of like the concept and the rights to rewrite it. And I said no, but that would have, got me at square again and even. I was like, no, like I don't want to change the story. The story means too much to me now to change it. Then we came, twice in LA and came back here, and then I started emailing everyone, trying to find a way to get someone to open that door for me just so they could read it. Contacted a bunch of writing agencies, a bunch of production houses, and no one wanted to give me the time of day, because just like when people are trying to get level entry jobs, they want you to have 20 plus experience, but it's a level entry job. So like writing agencies and production houses, we don't take unsolicited work from writers.
Yeah.
So like, how did, big time writers become big time writers if they weren't given that first opportunity? Right? So I spoke to a few people like, you need to sell your soul in order to do this. Like, what does that mean? You're going to give your story to a professional writer, have them put their name on it, and you can get a small credit. So that way, at least you have a credit now. I'm like, but that doesn't make any sense. I wrote the thing. Why am I going to give a known writer the script for? He goes, because that's how it works in film and television. So that was hard to hear, but I didn't give up. I contacted Maximum Effort and Ryan Reynolds' team. I contacted Seven Bucks Productions and Dwayne Johnson's team. I've contacted Wayfair Studios because apparently they like to talk to new writers. I literally called everyone under the stars and the moon, every production house in Vancouver, Toronto, LA, and nothing was working. So then I found a small production house that specializes in special effects. They're called Frontier Productions. And they say, listen, we're working on getting to produce full features, but right now we produce like small short films and small concepts, this and that. Would you like to come on board and become an in-house writer for us? I said, listen, I will come on board to become an in-house writer as long as I can use your email and your production name to contact production houses. And they said, you know what? Why don't we collaborate? And like, we'll work together to see if we can get your script made. So we did that. Again, I reached out every single production company again, but now I'm not just John Duke, a no-name writer. I'm John Duke, a sales agent of Frontier Productions. And we finally got a few production houses to call us back. And they read the synopsis, and they absolutely loved it. Said, wow, this is really good. Not knowing that I contacted them literally a year and a half before, but with a different name.
Oh my God.
It's the same synopsis, the exact same synopsis, just with a different email address now. So, Shallow Pines, so shout out to Shallow Pines. I met with the owner and I met with the head of operations, and they said, this story's incredible. And then I told them my story, but I didn't tell them in full depth like I told yourself. And they're like, we need to make a movie just based on your story. Like, your story is so inspiring. Like, we need to make this movie. I'm like, how about we make the feature film first, and then we can talk about this. And then they're like, yeah, we just need to work out some logistics. And Frontier Productions and Shallow Pines are now the head runners trying to produce this film. And we basically got some investors involved now, but we have a 6 million Canadian budget film, and we need additional funding because we haven't made the full 6 million. So we're hoping to contact Maximum Effort again, and all these other people to see if we can get some involvement from them. As Ryan Reynolds is very like pushing about like Canadian content, Canadian writers, Canadian talent. So we're hoping to be able to get a hold of his people again. And then we have some sales agents in the Cayman Islands, in Colombia, also looking to get some foreign investments to see if we can make this film happen. Because, again, as much as now we have production studio names involved, being a no-name writer kind of scares people with money to actually take the risk and take the chance. At the same time, like, I always use this comment. Sylvester Stallone didn't know he was going to be Sylvester Stallone when he approached Lionsgate with Rocky. They gave him the opportunity, and now he's Sylvester Stallone. Right? So I'm not saying I'm going to be Sylvester Stallone, but I'm saying that I know I have a good product, I have a good script. The story behind it is probably going to resonate with anyone who watches it, because everyone at some point in their life faced some sort of struggle, obstacle, or downfall. And they need to find a way to pick themselves back up, because perseverance is how we get through every single day. And yeah, so we're finally making some positive strides with the feature film. And, finally, hopefully get that happy ending to a really sad start.
Oh my gosh. First one, thank you for telling me your story. It is incredible. And I agree with the production house, right? Like, that needs to be, told, because it's the story that we all, there's so many things about the human experience that we all share, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't experience the same things specifically, but there's so much in there that I think so many people would resonate and sympathize and empathize with about the human experience. And just, the world needs more stories like yours, where there is optimism and perseverance, the two of them together. But also, I think what's so wonderful is how much hard work you had to do, but it also has paid off.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's frustrating because, oh my God, we could wax poetic about gatekeepers in the industry, and this industry just being so bizarre because there's no way in, right? Unless you sell your soul, which there's a lot of industries have that, but nothing as significant as this one. But I'm kind of rambling here because I'm so overwhelmed by your story, but I think there's so much good in what you just told me, and so much literal hell that you went through. Something that really struck me about your story is the idea of, because you've been through a lot of very similar things to some other people that I've talked to, as well as myself. And it's the idea of a big life-altering change that happened at quite a young age. It's like the loss of not just career aspiration, the loss of athletic aspiration as well, too, which I think a lot of people don't really, think of as equal. But when I've talked to a lot of former pro athletes, it's a very similar thing I'm hearing in your story, that you were forced to retire really young before anyone else in your peer group has had to, quote, retire. And retire for tragic reasons. Not just like, here's the gold watch, thank you for your 50 years of service at the Canada Post, right? Which is what most people think of when they think of retirement. You were forced into it. And there was a massive change in a time in your life when you're meant to be an idiot. You're meant to be enjoying life and being stupid in your 20s. And you were forced, it was impossible for you to do that. Mm-hmm. Is that, am I correct in that? Or is that, I'm just kind of making an assumption. Did you go through kind of that grieving process? I know you mentioned a lot of the dark times, but is that something that you felt?
Yeah, 1000%. So, I was a two-time Ontario champion in judo, and I was sponsored. My sensei had aspirations for me to eventually go to the Olympics, and because I was really good, and I was just a beginner with judo. I was very talented in rugby. I played football, but rugby was my sport. So when basically being told, hey, listen, you can't play contact sports anymore. And again, that was an outlet for me, because I mentioned before, when I was younger, I just felt like something was missing for me. I was an angry kid. I was an angry young adult. I was just always so angry. And then I became a bouncer as well. And everyone knows the story of Roadhouse, right? Essentially, Patrick Swayze and now Jake Gyllenhaal, they go to a Coke bar or, a really bad bar, and they clean it up. So my brother and I, we actually went to a similar bar up north. I won't disclose the name because I don't want people to think of bad thoughts of the place, because it's actually a very, very amazing place. We went over there and we were told how bad it was, and we thought people were exaggerating, but it was actually horrible. And my brother and I, unfortunately, had got our fists very dirty every single night until we were able to clean it up and make it a family restaurant again. We ended up getting a reputation called the Toronto Boys that worked up north. And our names actually got around a little bit because we literally were wrapping up our fists with bandages almost every night. And I used my martial arts and my athleticism in order to be able to do that and become a really, really strong bouncer. And again, we never, did something out of the limitations or did something that wasn't warranted. We always let them touch us first. We always explain to them, hey guys, listen, you can't be doing these illegal activities on the property. Please step out and do it outside, somewhere else, blah, blah, blah. And then, someone takes a swing at you for no reason. You're trying to communicate and trying to de-escalate the situation and walk them out before tossing them out. And it is what it is what it was. But eventually, that bouncing led to me, the experience that I had in bouncing and security, because I started working security at 18 years old, like I mentioned, because I was able to work overnights to balance out the construction job during the days, and then landscaping between construction and security, and landscaping on the weekends. I ended up becoming a bodyguard for a lot of high net worth clients, a few politicians, and then celebrities. If you actually Googled Toronto TIFF, you see me everywhere because I was actually a bodyguard for a lot of A-listers. And I remember there was one year in particular, I was bodyguarding for Matthew McConaughey. An absolute gem. He is one of the nicest guys in real life. Like, he is literally one of the nicest people I ever met. And I remember I was walking him the red carpet for one of his films. And somehow someone broke through the barrier, and that was like technically the premise guards, like the perimeter guards. And somehow they got around them, and they put a camera in his face. I grabbed the guy by the t-shirt and threw him against the SUV. And I was like, oh my God, everyone has their phone out. That doesn't really look great on me. But technically he was about, who knows if he was going to assault him or something like that. You never know.
Yeah.
Sometimes he could have been impersonating a paparazzi just to get close to him. Like, again, who knows, right? I ended up asking the gentleman, are you okay? I'm sorry I had to do that, but you're not allowed to be outside the barrier. And I explained to him what he did wrong. He goes, listen, I'm sorry. Like, I'll go back. I'm like, are you okay? He goes, I'm fine. Like, I get you did your job. And even the cops came over, like, listen, you did your job, bro. Like, you don't worry about it. Like, we're here. We wrote a statement. Like, he also agreed that you did nothing wrong. So you're fine. I wasn't even worried about that. I was just worried about, like, was Matthew McConaughey and his wife okay at the time?
Yeah.
We get into the SUV, and he goes, because I was sitting in the front next to the driver, hey buddy, you okay? I'm like, why are you asking me if I'm okay? Like, are you okay? Just like a really, really nice guy. And then we get into the green room, and then, everything starts happening, and we get to the Q&A, and I walk him over to the stage, and he walks out and starts answering people's questions, and I'm just standing there like, this is where I'm meant to be, but not behind the scenes. Like, I want to be up there answering people's questions about my film or about like a character that I created and like portrayed in acting. And I called my wife, and I actually texted. She didn't answer because she was working at the other Princess of Wales Theater, because she worked we own the company together now, and she was working security for Princess of Wales, and I was at the I think a Ryerson Theater. And I told her, like, I take a quick photo of Matthew McConaughey and the backdrop and the lights and stuff. I'm like, this is going to be us one day, not working the event, but being invited to this event. And we're going to talk about our film. I know it's going to happen. It's just going to take a little bit of time. And that was like 3 years ago. And we're slowly starting to get into that, that finish line where we're hoping that we're going to be able to submit our film to TIFF. So...
Love that. I would love to. So actually, before I ask my question about acting, something you just said there struck me, because you said, it's slowly starting, where you'd mentioned back when you first were trying to get this made, you were young and wanted everything to happen fast.
Yeah.
Tell me about that mindset shift. What has changed besides great wise as a maturity as time marches on?
So, mistakes. Honesty. Mistakes. So, for example, there was a contract in place with the other person that I ended up in the legal dispute with, and being 19 years old, you don't read contracts. So I signed my rights away without realizing it because I didn't read the contract. So honestly, mistakes, downfalls, but I don't even call them mistakes. I call them lessons learned. I think that's the best way to approach any situation in life now, with a different mindset, is that don't consider anything you do in life as a mistake. Consider it as a lesson learned. Because that way you put a positive twist on something negative so that negativity doesn't consume you.
That. About what is it that, I know you mentioned it's when you feel alive. Tell me more about that.
So like I mentioned, when I was younger, I wasn't like really happy with myself, even though it kind of seemed from everyone's other perspective, I had everything, right? Like I had the respect of my peers. I had the respect of the coaches, the teachers. Everyone knew who I was. My sister hated me so much.
Yeah.
She's a year younger than me, and she was known as John Duke's sister.
Oh my God.
Instead of having her own first name put in place, she was John's little sister. But because of that, no one ever messed with her. No one ever, but the thing is, no one ever asked her out either, because they knew that I could snap my finger and the rugby team would show up in an instant. Because that's how much, like, I wouldn't say power I had, but just how much respect I had. I can like call the wrestling team, because I was, again, co-captain of the wrestling team, captain of the rugby team, co-captain of the ultimate frisbee team, because I played ultimate frisbee, because that's how I met my wife at the time, because she played sports. Well, she played ultimate frisbee. It is a sport, I guess you could say. Like, I had to play it in order to meet her. So I had so much respect from everyone that no one asked my sister out. And then I went to her semi-formal, I went to her prom. So like, my sister hated me because of that. But I had all those things, and it wasn't, I wouldn't say it wasn't enough, because I'm not trying to sound like greedy by any means. It just didn't seem adequate for me. Like, I don't even know if I'm putting it into the right words. I didn't feel like myself. I didn't feel like I belonged in that atmosphere, in that environment, or anything like that. But when I'm on set and like I was creating characters, or I was doing something like, learning scripts or learning monologues, I was someone else, and being someone else made me happy, because I wasn't able to be happy with who I was back then. So creating a character, being someone else, that was completion for me.
I think that's really powerful. And I wonder if you had mentioned when contact sports was taken away from you, you don't have an outlet anymore. Is acting now that outlet, or is there more to it? Oh, wow. Yeah.
It overcompensated, and it just brought me to where I need to be to basically control. I'm not an angry person anymore, but at the time, like, acting or being on set or like getting an audition, putting your best foot forward, that was what I needed to fix broken John. So acting saved my life. Writing that script saved my life. My wife and I, we create other stories. Like, we have 7 to 9 other films, a TV series. We want to write a kid's book. Like, we have all these creative things in place, but we just want to get that first one off the ground. But like, doing all these things, writing all these concepts, writing all these characters, creating these stories, creating these messages behind the stories is essentially what fixed me, I guess you could say.
Do you find your career, and not just like monetary professional career in security, bouncing, bodyguard, but also your athletic endeavors, like your criminology, does that help you in any way with not just your acting, but the writing and creative process too?
Oh, 1000%. Because like being a bodyguard for like A-listers, politicians, you've heard and seen everything. Things you probably should never hear. You sign NDAs, so like you can't disclose certain things. But
fair.
Like, it gives you like ideas, and it kind of gets like the creative mind and juices flowing. And like, for example, I've had knives pulled on me, weapons, broken needles, screwdrivers, anything you can think of, I've had it pulled on me, right? So you take those moments, and like there was time where I had to play a gangbanger, and I literally pulled a screwdriver out, and I'm like, this is how that guy acted towards me. Let me see if I can do it better. And like, so I take those experiences, I kind of put myself back into that experience. Like, for example, like I have an acting coach and who specializes in method acting. And he always says, like, to get into the right mindset and to get into the right emotional state, try to remember or try to like put yourself into that experience, because that's how you'll get genuine emotion out to be real to the story. And I've done that, and because I started working with this acting coach, I've literally started excelling. And like, my family calls me the callback king, because I get callbacks at least once a week, if sometimes more. But it all changed when I started, like, you know, really taking this as a discipline and as like kind of like a competitive sport. What do athletes do to become better at something? Private coaching, or, you know, extra drills, or extra responsibilities on the field, and or reading more playbooks or anything like that. So I had to put my mindset as a former, I wouldn't call myself a professional athlete by any means, but as a former competitive athlete, and so that acting is your sport, acting is now your discipline. Find ways to do what you did with athleticism, because I literally put in so many hours at the gym, put in extra hours on the field, watched rugby like plays. I did everything I could to make myself the best rugby player on that team, to be deemed worthy as a title as captain. So now I try to do everything I can to become a better actor, a better writer, a better creator. So you put in that extra work, but I did 100%. Everything kind of comes into place.
Do you have any advice for anyone who might be in a similar situation to you, similar mindset, you know, trying to seek out more creativity, trying to find that thing that makes them feel alive again?
Yes, 1000%. So I would definitely tell everyone is, it's not a race, it's a marathon. Don't shoot yourself in the foot by trying to sprint first. Take your time with everything. And I'm not saying is, oh, should I take 3-6 years to decide whether or not to become an actor or a writer, but just think everything through correctly. And slowly is, I think, an appropriate word to say, because if I would have read that contract instead of just signing right away, that whole legal dispute might not have happened. Or if I would have done a little bit more research on like the production houses in LA that invited me over to go see them, I wouldn't have got screwed over. Like, just take your time and do the homework first. I'm not saying don't get excited, don't be passionate, but just take the extra necessary steps so you don't get hurt along the line. Because unfortunately, our passion is painful. I truly believe as actors, our passion is painful, because we will do anything and everything to continue pursuing this passion. But it hurts you when you don't book. It hurts you when you don't get a call back, or it hurts you when you don't get that email that says booked. You know what I mean? Like, but there's been, oh my God, there's been so many times where I got a call back and I went into the room and I crushed it. I knew I crushed it. I'm not trying to sound cocky by any means. I'm actually very humble, but sometimes I come across as very passionate, I guess you could say. I made everyone at the table laugh, including the client, because like sometimes it's the client who makes the final decision. It's not the director, right? I had everyone laughing, and it was a role that I really, really, really wanted. It was for a commercial for Mario Kart. Like, I grew up with that video game, so like I really wanted this one, and I didn't get I got the call back, and I went in, killed it, and then the flight to Vancouver was a certain day, so like you get like I think a couple days to kind of prepare yourself. So when that email didn't come through, I had to go walk my dogs and tear up because I couldn't do it in front of my wife and my 2 sons. Because, you know, we still live in that era where like the father has to be a little bit stronger, and I know that's not the right mentality to have, but like I don't want to cry in front of my kids. Not yet, anyways, because I don't want them to think something's wrong or that they did wrong, because one's 2 and one's like 7 months. So if they see daddy crying, they might think, oh, daddy, did I do something wrong? Because sometimes Nathan will go, daddy, I'm sorry. I'm like, why are you sorry for? You didn't do anything wrong. And he just sees that I'm like upset because of something with work or something with like acting or something with like whatever. So I try really hard not to cry in front of them. So I'll go on a walk and just start tearing up. And I know all the professionals and all the pros say you have to get to the point where you go in for an audition, you put your best foot forward, and then forget about it. I just haven't learned how to do that yet.
Me either. I was about to ask you, well, how do we get over it, right? That's the lifelong question. When our art is so, and I know I've said this a billion times in this podcast, it's so who we are as individuals. It's not like we're painting a painting and someone says, I don't like your painting. Like, that's fine. That's not me as a person. But acting is you as a person out there being vulnerable. And if someone doesn't choose you, it is so personally, it hurts. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts more than anything I've felt. And I have no idea what the right answer is. And you know what? I think, sure, get over it. But also, I kind of don't want to be that person who just is like, I'm just going to get over it. Because part of what I like about myself is the fact that I'm so passionate about something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it can be, obviously it doesn't need to be like, I don't want to be, ruminating on something for weeks and weeks and weeks and so much that it impacts my quality of life and the next audition. But I also like genuinely really want stuff. That's just who I am. I can't change that. I don't know what the right answer is.
No, I totally agree. That's why, like, when everyone says, oh, you were on a commercial, you're so lucky. Or you were on a commercial, it must have paid so well. I'm like, you don't know the pain and suffering that I went through, the 10 to 20 previous commercials that I didn't get before that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not lucky. I work hard to book this job. Yeah. I work my ass off. And I invest time and money to get to the point where I'm booking.
Yeah.
Like, people who think, oh, you're an actor, like, it's not hard. I'm like, no, it's probably one of the hardest things in the world. Honestly, because because the thing is, if everyone was able to do it, why aren't they doing it?
Yeah.
Right?
I think there's so many people who want to. They start and then they realize how difficult it is. And then, like, I think the atrophy rate, people quitting, is so high. I think probably higher than most other careers, because there is this idea that society puts on that it's easy to do, because there are these stories of people who were just plucked from the mall and are now famous.
Yeah.
And there's no certification process to say, oh, congratulations, you now, are an actor, like you would for being a cop, being a doctor. There's nothing there. You can just literally be plucked from obscurity. So it feels flippant and it feels easy until you actually get in the thick of things and you realize that what I put into this sure as hell isn't what I'm getting out of it financially.
Yeah.
And time-wise, right?
Yeah.
It's nuts. Do you have any favorite moments on set?
You know what? Yeah, so I booked my first out of country last year.
Oh, it was cool.
It was for a Sunwing commercial, and so essentially my scene almost got cut out because there was a huge thunderstorm, and I was supposed to be on a zip line. And literally thunder struck maybe like 6 feet from the cast and crew. And like, yeah, we can't put John on a metal line during a thunderstorm and lightning storm. So maybe we should cut this scene. And I was like, no, like I came like from Canada to Dominican for this scene. Like I really wanted to do it just because of the experience itself, like it was a big client, a big commercial. And I really wanted just to say, I did it. So there was other group scenes that we had to do as a group. And the director and the talent coordinator saw how much effort I was putting into it. We had to do a dance number. And I worked my butt off to make sure I knew every single move really, really well. And I was even rehearsing in the hallway. A lot of the actors were like, we all like became a little family community. And like we all like worked really hard to make sure that dance number was perfect. So the next day, we're about to do the dance number, and they're like, "Oh, hold on, we can't do the dance number yet. We still have another scene to shoot." And we're all confused because we saw the storyboard of the day and the shooting on the shot list of what's going to be done, and the only thing on that was the dance number. And they're like, "No, we got to do John's scene." I was like, what? My scene was supposed to be yesterday and we canceled it. Like, no, no, no. We brought a green screen, a blue screen. You're gonna get hoist over the resort, and we're gonna shoot your zip line. I was like, oh my God, like that's amazing. But wait, I just had a big lunch. I'm like, what? No, I didn't know I was gonna do this because like I didn't eat the day before because I knew I was gonna be on a zip line. And then I was like, I just ate a lot of food thinking we're gonna leave soon. So, we got onto the beach. I see the blue screen and everything, and then the talent coordinators are like, "Oh, John, you can't sweat. Your makeup's gonna start running, and this, and that." So they start holding umbrellas over me and a fan, and I'm walking through the resort on the beach, and then everyone from the resort, because we were at like a regular resort, people start flooding like a circle around us, taking out their phones, screaming, "Who is this? Who is that? Who is that?"
Oh my
And then they're holding the umbrella over me, so you can't really see my face too much. And then they start putting the harness on me. I have like a team of 6 people putting harness on me, a helmet, and all this other stuff. And people are screaming out, "Oh my God, who is that? Who is that?" And I literally yell out, "I'm nobody. Don't worry. Don't waste your camera footage." But just like having everyone stick out their phones and go, "Oh my God, oh my God," it just felt incredible. Like it just felt awesome to, I guess, feel validated. But if they knew who I was, they wouldn't take their cameras out. They lost the day at the pool for nothing. And my only scene was to scream like a very like very scared screaming, like high pitch and all that stuff, because that's the whole scene. This really, really big guy screaming on a zip line because it's supposed to be funny. And I did that a couple times and that was it. But that was my scene. But like I was proud of that scene because like I did it really well and I had a huge audience to do it for, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's a great story. That's amazing. That's one of those ones that you will tell around the campfire until you're 900 years old. Like, it's just one of those ones that is the party trick. Like, it's so good. I have the best visual image in my head of all of this playing out. It's just wonderful. That needs to be in your film, in your movie about your life.
Yeah, no, that'd be a fantastic add-on to for the docu-series and whatnot.
So good. Do you have anything you are looking forward to this year? I know you kind of alluded to some major stuff, but I'd love to.
Yeah, so we just need to basically finalize some additional funding for the film. Like I mentioned, it's a $6 million Canadian dollar budget, and then a 3.5 American budget. We have sales agents now working to get money from either like foreign investors, from local investors. So we have a lot of people who have been basically coming together to try to make this film happen. Because as they read the synopsis and I give them a brief overview of the story and how we're getting to this point, they're all, wow, like we need to make this film happen. Like, how do we get involved? Like, we want to be part of your team, because they also know like this is going to be a longevity process with regards to the first one, then having the second, third, fourth, fifth concept made. Because like honestly, my wife and I, like I mentioned, we have a vault of different concepts and different stories. The first one, it's called Letting Go. As you can tell by the title, it's about like, letting go of everything that holds you back. That's not even our best one, but we think it's going to be our most inspiring one to kind of get our names off the ground, getting Frontier Productions' name off the ground. Shadow Pines already has a name, so but they also believe in the story and believe in us, which is just incredible. So we're really hoping to be able to start pre-production as soon as possible once we get that final remaining additional funding in place.
That's awesome. I've become a bit of a wooey person as I gain great wisdom and maturity in this life. And I wasn't when I was young and in my 20s. I was very like analytical and science-based, and I didn't believe in karma or fate or any of those weird things. Because but I totally do now. And maybe this is like a completely pretentious douchebaggy thing to say, but like, do you think any of this would have happened if you didn't go through the shit storm that you had to, excuse my language, when you were in your 20s?
No.
Do you think you'd even be here now?
No.
Like, and the film, maybe it wouldn't have been as good as what it was meant to be if it was made then, because it was meant to be made now.
1000%. I truly believe that everything happens for a reason. And what is the thing that people struggle with most in their lives. It's time.
Yeah.
So we needed time to happen. We needed all these different things to happen. Because think about, like, I'm going to use COVID as an example. So many people struggled through those 2.5, 3 years of COVID, with unemployment rate being at its highest, suicide rates being at its highest, addiction rates being at its highest, homeless rates are at its highest. Everything needs to happen for a reason. Not because I wanted any of those things to happen. It's just that people are now struggling, facing the hardest times of their life. So why not create a film that hopefully people can resonate with, to find the ability to find within themselves to persevere and get through the hardest time in their lives the way I had to get through the hardest time in my life. So I'm not saying I'm grateful for any of the negativity for happening in the world, but I'm just saying that time needed to happen. I need to go through those lessons learned to get to this point, to be a stronger person, a better writer, a stronger actor. Unfortunate part, I can't act in the film anymore as I wanted to, because I'm not in high school anymore. I can't play a high school character. But we're hoping to get some really big names involved. That's why our budget's a little higher, to get Zolo from Cobra Kai to play one of the leads. We're hoping to get Justin Baldoni to direct this, because it's such a tragic, inspirational story, and he did a fantastic job with 5 Feet Apart and Clouds. And then our lead actor, we're hoping, because again, like, the whole point of me creating this film was for me to get my breakout role. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to have that moment with this film, but we're hoping to give some sort of Canadian talent the opportunity to play the lead through a national casting.
Oh my
That's
God.
the goal, because I was unfortunately I wasn't able to play the lead because the time was not there for me. But why not give someone else who's facing similar struggles or similar, like, not having the opportunities there for them? Why not create an opportunity for someone else?
The word that comes to my head about everything that you're doing is philanthropy, and that paying it forward, and just, I think, what a gift to, and it's just so selfless. And yeah, it's just, I'm like getting all goosebumpy. That's really, really cool. I'm so excited for what you are all doing. That's awesome. I got chills. Woof. Do you have any final words of wisdom or advice while I wipe and get the tears out of my eyes?
The one thing I've learned throughout this whole entire process is understanding that there's two sides to the word dreamer. Some people try to paint the word dreamer as a negative content, because, like, we heard dreamer being thrown at us, myself and my wife. Oh, you're a dreamer. This is never gonna happen. Oh, stop dreaming. 1 in a million get this opportunity. Stop. You're not gonna have this dream come true. And then there's the other positive side to dreamer. If you really dream to make this happen for yourself, like I dreamt this concept, and I dreamed to one day live in the opportunities that I put forth, find a positive side to every negative word thrown at you.
Mm-hmm.
So I found a positive side to the word dreamer, as opposed to always hearing the negative side of the word dreamer being thrown at me. Mm-hmm. So surround yourself with positive, like-minded individuals.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and thank you, John, for being my guest this week. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your crazy busy schedule to chat with me and tell everybody your story. I'm so excited for all the things you have coming up for you. I'm just so thrilled. I mean, the sorry Police Foundation's world, sorry policing, but I'm so glad we in the entertainment industry got you. I think you are such a joy. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and I hope you'll tune in next week for another episode of Second Act Actors. Bye!